Hey now, good Thursday afternoon, and welcome to a shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. We're here with you for the next hour, 6 o'clock. So when we'll be finishing up the show today, we were a little busy for the last 2 hours. We were worrying about a Royals baseball series win over the Chicago White Sox. A thrilling win in the finale this afternoon. The Royals take 3 out of 4 from their division rivals. And for the first time, they have won a series this year. How about that? What a way to win it. A walk-off squeeze bunt by Freddie Fermin. Love to see that from the Kansas City Royals.
Some things never go out of style, and a suicide squeeze is one of those things.
That was absolutely awesome.
It was really fun. It was a really cool way to win a game.
Yeah, what a way for that to go out. So we'll talk some Royals baseball here in just a moment. We are going to pack this 1 hour edition of 580 Sports Talk today. We're also going to get to what we know about the Chiefs' schedule so far and look ahead to the NFL schedule release coming up tonight. Plus, a potentially big name, maybe future major contributor for Kansas basketball, has entered the transfer portal. Ernest Uday, the 8th Jayhawk to leave the program this offseason. This one hurts a little bit more for me than the others because I know you and I were in agreement on this. I thought Uday was going to be the next great Kansas big man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching him develop this past season and had a lot of optimism he was going to be a big part of Kansas's efforts next year, but instead it's into the portal.
So we will touch on that and what that's going to mean for KU going forward as well. Plus, we want to get your texts, your reactions, your comments on YouTube to this Royals series win and series finale win today over the White Sox. The text line number, as always, 785-272-9429. Same number as the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. And you can also hit us up on YouTube. The name of our channel is Sports on 580 WIBW. Just go to youtube.com, search Sports on 580. It'll be the first result. Go check it out, subscribe, and that is where you'll find all of our video content, including today's live streamed show. The Royals didn't just win this series. They looked really good in this series, I thought. Now, relative to who they were playing, relative to what they have looked like over the course of the year. But when you factor in this win today, the Royals outscored the White Sox 27-11 over the course of 4 games. That's really good. That best series they've had run differential-wise all year by a lot, by a whole lot. The offense was mostly good, a little bit slower today, but they come through with the clutch play late. The pitching has been largely good over the last couple of days. Most importantly, today, Brady Singer, very good.
I think it was 96 pitches in 4 innings in his previous start. Today, I think 79 or 80 through 6. I don't have the box in front of me, but much more efficient. And the reason for his improved efficiency wasn't getting as deep into counts because he was throwing strike one. He was much more adept at getting ahead of hitters, staying out of those deep 2-0, 3-0, 3-1 counts that have really made it hard for him to be effective. And he spun some good sliders. He got some swings and misses. Definitely some 2-out damage done against him for the 1 run. But other than that, I thought he was rock solid today. And that's exactly what you're looking for from Brady Singer. 6 solid, efficient innings like that. The Aroldis Chapman gave it away in the 8th, kind of I don't want to call it a seeing eye double, but if you saw the game tying 2-out, 2-run double by Luis Robert, he really just kind of threw his bat at it, and it just eluded the dive of Garcia at third or Duffy at third and just got down the left field line. I mean, inches away from being foul or being caught. And a bit of a bad break, but the Royals shook it off, and then they win it in the 9th with Freddie Fermin's walk-off suicide squeeze. But your point about the pitching and your point about Singer, and it kind of goes to Brad Keller last night too, with 5 innings of 1-run ball. And again, not the giant leap forward you might have hoped for from Keller because he did walk 4 guys in 5 innings, but
loves to just not throw strikes.
Yeah, much better in terms of being in competitive counts, working with traffic, pitching his way out of some jams, and giving the offense an opportunity to go and win him the ball game. And that's what this Royals team is. They are an offense-forward baseball team right now. They came into today averaging 7 runs a game since, I want to say, start of the month, averaging about 7 runs a game. So they're swinging the bats extremely well. They're getting contributions from a bottom of the order that was not contributing at all in the month of April. Michael Massey, another dinger today, throwing out some good at bats. Michael Garcia had the 2-run double, and of course Fermin with the winning RBI. That's the bottom of the order doing it all for the Royals today in terms of their production. So it's a deeper lineup. It's an offense-forward baseball team right now. The pitching staff doesn't have to win a bunch of 2-1, 1-0 ball games. They just have to keep it competitive, and this offense right now is hot enough to do the rest.
6.7 runs a game over their last 10, which would extend to the start of the month, May 2nd, their first game of the month. Very impressive for this offense. And when you talk about you want to see improvement, you want to see development, you want to see the young core continue to take steps forward, that's exactly what they did today. And that's with not a whole lot from the top of your order. Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt Jr. went a combined 0 for 7 with a walk. That's what they did in this game. And you still were able to pull out a win. That's pretty darn impressive. In fact, you want to extend that even further? Your top 4 in the order today went a combined 1 for 15 with 1 walk. The only hit was MJ Melendez, who also had that group's 1 strikeout.
And the walk was the leadoff walk from Bobby Witt Jr. So after that, really not much of anything from that.
No, so that was awesome to see guys at the bottom of the order step up big. Prado walking a couple of times.
2 really good at bats.
Yeah.
He had the 8-pitch at bat behind Melendez's single that led eventually to Michael Garcia's 2-run double. I think it was the 4th or the 5th. Middle of the game, and I'm again 4th. Yeah, 4th inning. And then the leadoff walk in the 9th. And the thing with Prado has been that has kind of put a damper on some of my enthusiasm about his hot start is that he's still striking out a lot. 17 strikeouts and 53 plate appearances coming into today. Like that's too much, man. He's got to make a little more contact. He's got to cut down on those strikeouts eventually if he's going to be a really good, consistent offensive presence. But showing me that patience, that ability to work a count, was an 8-pitch walk in the 4th inning. And I think he fouled off a couple of tough ones in working that walk in the 9th. That shows me an approach that's improving. Michael Massey's approach is improving, and so are his results.
Run!
MJ Melendez's approach is improving, and so are his results. Like, there are really good things happening with this young group of hitters like we would have hoped to have seen. What did we talk about when this team was in the depths in April? We looked at their offensive numbers and said, man, they're hitting the ball hard, and they're hitting the ball hard more often than most other teams in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood that nobody wanted to hear that when this team was losing night after night. When they started 4-16, you don't want to hear about teams' average exit velocity. You don't. Because 4-16 is the only stat that feels like it matters at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But now this is a group that's starting to reap the benefits from hitting the ball hard and hitting the ball in the air and hitting the ball hard a lot. And what has happened is the offense has ticked up. And I think it helps the pitching staff to not feel like they have to go win 2-1 every night either.
I don't love getting into the super non-analytical ways of breaking down games like, oh, they just looked so confident. They just wanted this one. So I don't usually like doing that. But I also think at the same time, it's fair to say, especially with young players, specifically with young players, confidence does matter. That is a real thing and a real important thing. And seeing, dang, I'm hitting the ball hard, but I can't get on base. It's not resulting in hits. To actually see those turn into hits, especially for a guy like Massey, who was so bad at the start of the year, now has been on fire. I saw someone, was it David Lesky? It might have been David Lesky who tweeted out that ever since drawing his first walk, Michael Massey has an OPS, or his slugging is like over 700 since then. Like, hey, it matters. It is important to have plate discipline. It leads to other good things. But the confidence is important. And now this team has won 4 of their last 5 games. They won the final game in that series with the A's. Would have liked to have won that series, but so be it. And they took 3 out of 4 from the White Sox going into what is going to be a tough road trip, if for no other reason than they are jet setting almost literally all over the country. They're going from KC to Milwaukee tonight. And then after 3 in Milwaukee, they're going to San Diego.
Right.
And then from San Diego to Chicago before they eventually come back to Kansas
At least
City.
there's an off day in there.
Yes, thankfully they do have an off day.
San Diego and Chicago.
What is that, next Thursday?
Yeah,
today,
next
I think?
Thursday, yeah.
So to build up a little bit of confidence, even if you have high profile or, guys who are young and who are producing, I think building up more of that confidence is important. And hell, if you're a fan too, I think you should feel not confident necessarily that your team is actually good. I don't want to get too far out over our skis right now, although they are tied for the longest winning streak in the American League Central. Only one other team has won 2 in a row. That's the Twins. Tigers won yesterday, and did they play today? No, they did not. And then Cleveland and Chicago have each lost at least one of their last 2 times out. By the way, the Bard hopping in with some commentary on YouTube here. Got a limerick today. Walk-off series win makes me feel glad, though the White Sox are just really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Wish for more Brady. He only threw 80, but Fermin went and made the Pale Hose sad. Pretty good.
That's good work.
That's very good work.
Winning inspires great work.
We should probably mention, in the spirit of fairness, the White Sox are pathetic. I know their record is better than the Royals, and I know 4 games out of, 37 now or 38 is not a huge percentage of them. But at the same time, they're miserable. I would take the Royals right now over the White Sox. If you're like, hey, you have to pick one of these rosters to go win a game right now against a mystery opponent, who are you taking? I would take the Kansas City Royals right now.
I would too.
Even with how bad the pitching generally has been, because the White Sox just suck. There's nothing redeeming about them right now.
Yeah, that's a hard watch. They don't have a lot going for them right now.
I mean, we talk about how bad the bottom of the Royals order generally is. Not today. They were the ones who contributed today. Some of these players for the White Sox, man, and I know they had to replace Yasmani Grandal because he got hurt today with Sebi Zavala. They're running out Hanser Alberto, who's put up some numbers, but we saw him with the Royals. We've got the tape on him.
Yeah, we know what the back of his baseball card says.
Lenin Sosa, their second baseman, is hitting 132 with a 145 on base and a 221 slug. That is good for those of you keeping score at home for a 366 OPS.
Are you sure that's not just Lenin Sosa?
I thought it was Lenin.
It might be, but
there might need to be some different kind of emphasis.
There's a lot of Vladimirs.
Yeah.
So
true.
Why wouldn't there be a Lenin, right?
Right. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, it's just a miserable baseball team to watch. I've got a really good buddy. I've got 2 good friends who are White Sox fans. One who is at a point where he's just already saying, I'm ready for the Bears season to start, which is a wild sentence, by the way. I heard that last night. Another one who today put on Twitter, he entered every team in Major League Baseball, the other 29 teams. He put them into a simulator online and then said, pick a random entry, and he's now a Yankee fan. Today's game has turned him into a Yankee fan.
No, that's not allowed. He knows that's not allowed, right?
Desperate times, I guess. He just tweeted after saying he was done with the White Sox. Beautiful evening. Domingo on the mound. Yanks at home. Brooklyn lager in hand. Life is good. #RepBX.
No, you have to ridicule him until he stops the charade. Friends don't let friends do this.
Yeah, you can't choose to be a Yankee fan. By the way, off the field here for the Royals, we were joking the other day about that piece from Jim Bowden at The Athletic where he listed 2 Royals as potential trade candidates for the deadline this year. One being Aroldis Chapman. That's a big no-duh. And then the other one was Brad Keller.
Yeah.
Well, Aroldis Chapman, I saw a write-up today, or maybe it was even last night, over at MLB Trade Rumors about how the Royals have actually indeed gotten calls already about Aroldis Chapman because he's been, today not so great, but generally he's been pretty good so far this year, especially in a lesser, roles with less leverage than he was dealing with in New York. Now, they can't trade him until June 15th. When you sign as a free agent, you have a built-in no trade clause until June 15th. Maybe he would waive it. I don't, maybe he just really wants to get out. I don't know. But that is a positive, and if I'm the Royals and I already knew people were calling, I would certainly not pitch him back-to-back the rest of the season. No. You are not seeing back-to-back days of action ever again as long as you are a member of the Royals. We got to keep that value up as high as possible. But then you today saw is this from ESPN?
Yeah,
correct?
Buster Olney.
From Buster Olney of ESPN, that Brad Keller's name is coming up again. So there's obviously something to that.
So this is what Olney wrote. They're already putting out some MLB trade deadline thoughts, news, and rumors on ESPN. And this is what Olney wrote regarding the Royals. The Royals have some young players attractive to rival execs, but are expected to keep the likes of Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino and Brady Singer.
Duh.
The Royals' Brad Keller is generally viewed as an intriguing talent, but given his continuing struggles, a lot of contenders would likely view him as more of a lottery ticket than a highly valued asset, especially since he'll be a free agent in the fall.
Yeah, I believe that.
So the thing with Keller that you can look at and try and talk yourself into there being more there. Number one, like established, like he has had good years in the major leagues. Like his rookie year, 2018, he was solid. He was excellent the COVID year. Like he's got a track record of having extended runs of success at the major league level, even if the last 2 years and now the start of this one have been pretty bumpy. There's a track record. Number two, he's only 27 years old. Number three, he's got the frame that should allow him to be durable and eat up some innings. He's listed at 6'5", 255. The other thing, too, is that this level of issue with the walks that he's had, where after his start yesterday, he still leads the American League with 32 walks in 39 and 2/3 innings. That's over 7 walks per 9. It's more walks than strikeouts. His previous career high in walks per 9 is just a shade over 4. That's from 2021. So maybe there's an executive out there or some scouts out there who are watching Brad Keller and saying, yeah, he's just a tweak away. Like, he's just got to tweak something, or he's just got to change something about his arsenal. Like, that might be a guy a team gets their hands on and say, okay, Brad, you're throwing fastball and you're throwing slider and you're not throwing anything else ever again. Forget about it. Forget about your 5-pitch mix. You're down to 2. Simplify. And I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually got there this season independently of that with the Royals, where they're maybe trying to monitor what he's got and want to maybe simplify things for him if these issues with the command continue. But I think Olney's a little more well-connected in baseball circles
yeah, I'd say so.
than Jim Bowden is. So I think there's definitely some smoke around this. The idea, now they're not going to get a big haul back for this version of Brad Keller, but for now, you start watching Brad Keller starts, root for him to get hot, root for him to find the strike zone, because that might be a chip that the Royals could potentially cash in come June and July.
We've talked before about teams that have a history of getting the most out of pitchers or being able to fix pitchers. I know the 2 names that have come up in the past. This came up a lot last year with Jacob Junis when he got off that crazy hot start in San Francisco. Now, he has since become a bullpen arm and did not end last season well. But San Francisco is a team like that. Cleveland has historically been a team like that. Now, neither of those teams are any good this year. Like, Cleveland is not going to trade in division to go get Brad Keller. Like, that's not going to happen. And San Francisco is not very good either. In an NL that is actually pretty solid.
The
overall.
Brewers have been good at this.
Yep.
You know who the Brewers got a lot of mileage out of as a mid-season pickup and that they moved to the bullpen? Jordan Lyles, a handful of years ago.
Yep. The Royals and the Brewers also certainly have a good working relationship and have forever.
Yeah.
So a team like that, though, that is in the hunt and says, we want to add something that's got low to moderate upside while not being a major risk either. We'll give up a low-level prospect or a quadruple A guy who are never going to play. I don't know whatever it would look like, but I do think there is some intrigue there. And I hate to keep beating this dead horse, but that's why Keller and Singer specifically are so frustrating, because we have seen it. We have seen the good. If Brady Singer pitched like this every single game, he'd be a number 2 starter for most teams in Major League Baseball. We know he could be that, but it just doesn't show up enough. For Keller, it's the same thing. It's, wow, this was a really good, solid outing. Even, just 5 innings of work, 1-run ball. You will happily take that at this stage. But then he also walks 4 guys and is just so prone to not having outings like that it gets frustrating that there's not that consistency. But if it is there, maybe it turns into some value for the Royals down the road. The Royals do pick up the win today. They knock off the Chicago White Sox in 3 of their 4 games, win their first series of the year. They will move on to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers tomorrow night, 7:10 first pitch. Of course, that game can be heard here on 580 WIBW. Just a 1-hour edition of 580 Sports Talk today due to the Royals games. We're going to take our first time out right here. When we come back, another player leaving the Kansas Jayhawks via the transfer portal. Ernest Uday, the newest one. What does that mean for KU? We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk.
Before Cal.
Brendan and Dan here with you on this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk. We are off at 6 o'clock like normal. We didn't start until 5, though, because of the Royals game. The NFL schedule, by the way, is going to get released tonight. We've got some thoughts on the games that have already been announced coming up here in a few minutes. We've got a question from Mark in the YouTube feed that asks, how do we feel about the Chiefs Week 1 game? We'll get to that. That's coming up here in a few minutes. We will get to some schedule notes before the actual full schedule is released later on tonight. Did want to get to this from Kansas basketball today, though. Ernest Uday is entering the transfer portal. He played sparingly for much of this past season, but did play a little bit more down the stretch. Had to play a lot, in fact, in the final couple games of the season. And very lean in terms of body type. But the skill set, to me, while very raw, I thought looked like something that could be special at KU. Put on a little weight, get a little more familiar with, the expectations of being a starting center at Kansas and all of that. I really thought he was going to be maybe not the exact same player as a Buki or a Robinson or a Withy or someone like that of recent memory, but like in the same class as an Azubuike or a Robinson or a Withy or someone like that.
His per 40-minute numbers defensively were unreal. He averaged over 3 steals and nearly 3 blocks per 40 minutes of action this past year. And like you said, his action was fairly limited, but those are elite per 40 numbers. CJ Moore, friend of the program, had those on Twitter today and said, I think it's possible he becomes the most dominant defender in college hoops, which
high
is
praise.
High praise. And you know, CJ, you've heard him on with us. He's not going to say something like that lightly.
No.
He's CJ Moore is
he's going to
many
shoot you
things,
straight,
but he is not prone to hyperbole. I don't think he's wrong either. Like, when you saw the potential for a difference maker on that end of the floor on the perimeter, that's what made him special. Yeah. Like, big guys blocking shots, that's kind of, that comes with the territory. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to get some blocks if you're, tall man. He's going to block some shots. But it was his ability to defend a pick and roll and be disruptive in the pick and roll and get steals, get deflections, those kinds of things that just jam up a possession, just throw your offense completely out of rhythm and out of whack. That was the stuff that he showed such a knack for, that I think wherever he ends up, he is going to be a guy who, I mean, you're talking short list for National Defensive Player of the Year, maybe as soon as this year, depending on what his opportunities look like.
Yeah, I mean, a unique skill set, it is hard to find, but there would be plays on the perimeter, and I think, dang, you don't see that from big men who are seniors who do have more of a handle on things. A lot of guys aren't asked to do that, but you could see the glimpses of why KU was so high on him. I probably shouldn't have compared him to T-Rob because they're different players, but you know what I mean. Guys who played in the post at KU thought he could be great in that regard. Instead, this is now the second domino to fall in terms of outgoing players after the Hunter Dickinson commitment. I thought, and maybe in retrospect, this was kind of crimson and blue tinted vision of the future, but you would think, all right, if one of the young centers wants to leave, I get it. There's only so much playing time. They're in the same class. Hunter Dickinson's coming in. I get it. And when it was Zuby Ejiofor, said, would have been nice to keep him around, but by the same token, I'm glad Uday is staying. I'm glad he's the one who's staying. You just got to make sure he stays too. And now he's out as well. So for the immediate future, you lack some depth in the post, but Hunter Dickinson is going to be an All-American caliber player, or at least could be. And your backup five is going to be the starting five from last year who won the most improved player in the Big 12, the best conference in the country. And KU's got a handful of open scholarships now. I would imagine they'll probably just try to find a body for the post. They'll find who is 6'10" and can at least somewhat move. Like, that's who your backup big is going to be.
Yeah, like honestly, like a Bebe Igiola type. Like, if you remember him
honestly,
from Kansas State last year. Yeah, like big enough, strong enough to bang with other bigs, can finish a little bit, won't embarrass himself at the free throw line. Like, that kind of a player who's played like high major Division I ball, has played a lot of games. Like, I feel like that would be sort of an ideal candidate to come in. And look, I get it from Uday's perspective, because on the one hand, it would be fair for Bill Self, the coaching staff, to have said to him, look, you're going to sit behind Dickinson this year, but for your final 2 years of eligibility, you are the guy. Mm-hmm. You are going to be that dude, and this is a developmental year for him. But on the same token, it's one thing to have a developmental year. How many minutes a game is Dickinson going to play? Like, Dickinson's going to play 34 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
34, 35.
30 is going to be the baseline unless he fouls out. And he never fouls out.
Yeah, he's not a guy who fouls out. So, yeah you're talking 30, 35 minutes a night. So that leaves Ernest Uday 8 to 10 minutes a game on the high end to develop. Like, if you're trying to get to the league, and I presume that Uday has those aspirations, like so many high, like a McDonald's All-American would going into college. You want to play a little more. You want to have a chance to be the guy as a sophomore. If you're a McDonald's All-American, you should feel like that's who you should be by your sophomore year in college.
There's also an interesting element to this that I don't. Let's phrase it this way. It reminds me a lot, actually, of what KU football went through a month ago, or just over a month ago. Remember when Ethan Vasco transferred?
Mm-hmm.
Our guy Michael Swain from 24/7. He's told us for a while, and I know he's written about this at his website a lot, that the KU staff really liked Ethan Vasco, and he was next in line after Jalen Daniels was done. He was next in line to be the guy for probably 2 years as the starting quarterback at KU. Daniels is coming back this year, fine. Vasco would back him up and then would have 2 years after that. Jalen Daniels has 2 more years of eligibility. I think with a good year, he's probably NFL draft bound after 23. But if the NIL money because he's got an Adidas deal and, the KU collective and all that, and maybe if he doesn't have an NFL caliber year, he could come back for 2 seasons. Then all of a sudden, so I just sat on the bench for a year waiting for something that's never going to come. Yeah. I want to go somewhere where I can play sooner. I don't personally think Hunter Dickinson is going to play 2 more years of college basketball, but he's also not an NBA player. Like, I don't think Hunter Dickinson's an NBA guy.
Really?
I really don't. I don't think he is. I don't think his style in the post is physical enough at the NBA level. Like, I think he's able to play more freely in college, which sounds a little bit weird because usually the NBA version of basketball is more free and open than college is. But I think his athletic deficiencies, if you will, wouldn't play in the NBA like they can in college.
Yeah, he might be like a Drew Timme.
Yeah.
He might be just, there's not enough athleticism there to make you feel like that's the whole thing with Timme. Like, offensively, it's all there, but athletically, defensively, is there enough there that he doesn't just get played off the court in the NBA? Dickinson's a little taller, though.
Yeah, and a better shooter.
Yeah, like Timme can take you out and hit like from the tip of the college 3-point line. Dickinson's a little more productive from back there. I don't know. I could see it for him easier than I could see it for Timme. Like, Timme, it made all the sense in the world. He came back, and honestly, he still got his year. Like,
yeah, he did.
Timme could come back. Like, it wouldn't shock me in the least. But I see what you're saying. Like, the possibility exists.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess it's more so just the risk that what if I'm losing a year? That, okay, I'm willing to spend 1 year in which I am willing to play 8 to 15 minutes a game and still develop or play more if there's foul trouble or whatever, but I'm not going to do that for more than that. And I would imagine, and I think that the KU staff has earned this benefit of the doubt, they are also honest with players, and they've been good to players about transferring too. I mean, there have been very few burned bridges, at least in recent memory, with KU. And the players have talked about, Zuby talked about that. He and his mentor in Lawrence, they've talked about that. Like, hey, KU is behind us the entire way. They were going to help take care of us. Hell, even Quentin Grimes, who had a very bad season in Lawrence, got a waiver to go to Houston right away and be eligible before the portal because Bill Self spoke to the NCAA on his behalf. I was like, no, come on, take it. It's not his fault, whatever. Let him be eligible right away. So I assume they were straight with Ernest Uday and said, hey, look, if Hunter Dickinson has an opportunity to come back for another year and he's willing to have conversations with us about it, we're going to try to bring him back for a second year. So do with that whatever you want to do with that. And I hope that's the case, because that's how you should treat these guys. You should be honest and open with them. But the risk you run is they leave. And then all of a sudden, this guy you spent a year trying to develop is gone. I am excited because this looks like it's going to be one of the best rosters in college basketball. There is the risk you run that these guys don't mesh, though.
Of course.
And I'm not even talking about like at the beginning of the year, because there's going to be growing pains. KU's going to have a hard schedule this year, and they always do, but a very difficult non-conference schedule this year. UConn and Indiana, Missouri again. The Maui Invitational is crazy this year. I mean, there's a chance we get to February and some of these pieces just don't quite fit. Like, what if Arterio Morris doesn't work well next to DeJuan Harris? What if Nick Timberlake really is nothing but a garbage time 3-point shooter? Like Grady Dick, but he only plays 5 minutes a game. Like, you run that risk rebuilding this with entirely new players. So I'm excited, but once DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams leave, that might be it for that kind of player at this kind of program. Like, we might not see the 4-year guy very often anymore, which is kind of sad, but
yeah.
I mean, in the immediate, might make for a fun year.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to, and if you win, you don't mind. But
yeah,
you can win with mercenaries, but you better not be mid with mercenaries, because you know who you are then? You're John Calipari. You got people trying to relocate you in the middle of the season.
No kidding. We've got to get to another break. On the other side of this, we already know a few of the Chiefs games that will be announced tonight when the NFL schedule is released. Our thoughts? We'll get to them next on 580 Sports Talk.
Jill learned
5:43 on this 1 hour edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan. He's Dan. Thanks so much for stopping by for Royals baseball. We've got a full show coming up tomorrow, 3 until 6. Matt Derrick is going to join us on tomorrow's show, as will Rick Peterson for a one-day delayed edition of the Invista Credit Union High School Whip Around. Some big basketball coaching news in the city this week. We'll break down with Pistol coming up tomorrow. So the NFL schedule release day has become a big day for team social media accounts. All 32 teams, they do some sort of video. There's always a couple that are like 90s or early 2000s nostalgia themed or video game, or the popular one is the like flipping through TV channels or flipping through movies or something. Those will come out later today when the schedule is announced in full. During the day, though, a bunch of different NFL teams will do threads on Twitter of our opponents as something else. Like the Chargers always do, our opponents as Pop-Tart flavors. And the Arizona Cardinals just posted our opponents, but we're on the aux cord. So they're matching songs to all of their opponents for this year. Like for the Eagles, they will play them this year. They chose Hold On, We're Going Home by Drake. And they used a picture of James Bradbury holding Juju Smith-Schuster. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Like they could have just gone with Hotel California or something. Like Take It Easy.
For the Houston Texans, they used another Drake song called Fair Trade. David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins.
That's funny.
Those are the good ones. Well, they also posted the Dallas Cowboys with the song I Fall Apart by Post Malone and a picture of Dak Prescott hanging his head, which is also a little mean, but kind of funny.
I think Posty's a Cowboys fan too. So,
that would really fit then.
Yeah.
I did not know that about him. We were talking about Post Malone's Raising Cane's the other day.
Yes, we were. My
mother-in-law is a big Post Malone fan and asked my wife to ask me what I thought about him having a Raising Cane's. All about it. I'm here for it. Shout out to Post Malone. We know a handful of the Chiefs games. We mentioned 2 of them yesterday. They are going to play week 9 in Frankfurt, Germany. They will be taking on the Miami Dolphins. They will play week 17 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Today, we learned who their week 1 opponent is going to be. It is going to be the Detroit Lions. When we were looking through that the other day, I was thinking, I'm not playing the Lions on opening night. No way. They're not putting the Lions on the first game of the season. Well, I was wrong.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the last time the opening night game featured a team that did not make the playoffs the season before.
That is a great thought.
We have gotten like marquee matchups or like rivalries or at the very least like a conference game. Even if not a division game, at least you get like a conference game. Like there's some history. There's something you can sell.
Yeah. So we had Rams Bills last year, 2 teams everyone thought were going to be Super Bowl contenders, including the Super Bowl winners. Cowboys Bucks the year before that. Buccaneers won that one. And, big name teams, Tom Brady, all that. Chiefs Texans, after the Chiefs won Super Bowl 54, we thought the Texans would be good. They were not.
That was a playoff rematch from the year before.
Yep. Bears Packers, Eagles Falcons in 2018. I don't remember the 2017 Atlanta Falcons, to be honest with you. I don't recall anything about that team. Were they any good? Oh yeah, they got to the divisional round of the playoffs when they lost to the Eagles. Okay, so playoff rematch.
Yeah.
2017 Chiefs Patriots. Yeah, they were a Super Bowl rematch. So yeah, I mean, they had a lot of. We had a Super Bowl rematch week 1 of 2016. It was Panthers Broncos week 1.
Yeah, I remember that. The year before that was
Steelers Patriots.
And then the year after that was Seahawks and Packers.
Correct. Ooh, I've blacked that game out of my memory. That was a good Packers year, not a good first week. Yikes.
No, they got hammered.
36-16.
Yeah, it was a blowout.
Yeah, Broncos, Ravens. I mean, these were all big name matchups, and I know the Lions are kind of the sexy pick. Like,
they're a trendy team. They're the it team. They're also still the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, an entire offseason of, oh, man, look, they were the team on the come up. Now they're going to have continuity. And look at these other pieces they added. Free agents want to go there. Then they drafted a running back, a linebacker, and a tight end with 3 top 50 picks.
And their quarterback at last check is still Jared Goff.
Yeah. Who had a great year last year. He has had one of those in a 7-year career. Do you think that is going to continue for a second season in a row? So kind of a weird choice to pick the Lions. But I guess the theory behind that is it does not matter who is going to be or what teams are playing on opening night because everyone's going to watch the first game of the season. And it also doesn't matter who's playing against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes because everyone's going to watch them.
I think that's the real proof here that the Chiefs' opponent is beside the point. That if you put the Chiefs in prime time, people are going to watch 15. And so we end up with, has there ever been a memorable Chiefs-Lions game? The last matchup was actually pretty good. That was that the COVID year? I want to say it was the COVID year that the Chiefs went to Ford Field and beat the Lions.
They've only played 14 times ever.
That's wild.
And no, it was the Super Bowl year. It was September 29th of 2019.
2019, okay.
34-30 in Detroit.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game. I think Mahomes led a couple of fourth quarter touchdown drives, and they might have even had to come from behind in that one. But it was tight the whole way. It was a good game. That was not a great Lions team, but it was a good ball game.
Yeah, the Lions took the lead with 2:26 to go. They led 30-27 after a Matt Stafford touchdown pass to Kenny Golladay. And then the Chiefs in 2 minutes and 6 seconds got down the field and scored a touchdown. Darrell Williams had the winner in that one.
How about that?
Mahomes was 24 of 42, 315 yards, didn't throw a touchdown pass. That's bizarre. Weird. They scored 34 points, and he did not have a touchdown pass. That's crazy. Butker had a couple field goals. LaShawn McCoy had a touchdown. Darrell Williams had two touchdowns. And Chiefs great Bashaud Breeland had a fumble return touchdown in that game. So that's how the Chiefs beat the Lions back in 2019. There's also a rumor out there, this is not confirmed, that the Packers and Chiefs are going to play Sunday Night Football in the back half of the season. That, again, is because the Packers don't have a ton of star power right now. Although by the end of the year, maybe someone blows up.
Maybe Jordan Love's good.
Maybe he's good. Yeah, Christian Watson keeps playing well, whatever. But
that feels like a flex possibility.
December. But also, there's a lot of Packers fans out there.
There are.
And there's also at least three large fan bases that really hate them, which we'll be watching intently. But again, doesn't matter who plays the Chiefs.
One game that will not get flexed, week 4, as the Chiefs go to New York to play the Jets. That is being reported as a Sunday Night Football matchup, week 4. That would be our first ever Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes matchup. Injury knocked Mahomes out in 2019, and COVID knocked Rodgers out in 2021.
I went to both of those games expecting we were going to get Rodgers Mahomes.
So it was you jinxed it, is what I'm hearing.
But I do get to say I was there for Jordan Love's first career start. Which may be a bad thing, depending on how this year goes.
The other game that we do know officially, because the NFL did put this out there, the Chiefs are going to play the Raiders on Christmas Day, a 1 p.m. Eastern, so a noon Central kickoff. The Chiefs at home against the Raiders on Christmas, which is a Monday. I can't tell you how much I hate that. I hate it so much.
The Packers have played on Christmas Day each of the last 2 years, and let me tell you, it sucks. I watch every football game this season, but on Christmas Day, that's football's kind of on in the background while you're doing presents or you're, having good cheer or whatever.
You don't want to have to dial into a football game.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to that's a home game. Like season ticket holders, you're paying for a game on a holiday, on Christmas.
Yeah.
And you also lose a home game this year because you got the Germany game. If I'm a Chiefs season ticket holder, I'm not thrilled with the schedule, to be honest with you. I'm not thrilled with that part of it anyway.
One other non-Chiefs note, and this is a fairly premier game. According to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, the Week 16 schedule is going to be very odd, both for TV and specifically for TV. So Sunday Night Football is going to be on NFL Network. It's not going to be on NBC.
Christmas Eve,
I guess. There will be a Saturday game that week. It's going to be Peacock exclusive. So we now have a full season of Amazon-only streaming games, plus Black Friday. We have an ESPN Plus only game that is going to be played from England. And now we have a Peacock-only game played on a Saturday. The NFL at some point is going to have games on all 7 days of the week.
Yes, they will.
It's going to happen.
They want every waking minute of your attention, and we give it to them as much as we complain about it.
The unfortunate thing, I like that it's exclusive. I like that I can build up to one day. And the other sports can have the other days.
Yeah, you don't need Thursday and then all the weekend days in December. You just stop intruding on my life.
You don't need Friday. You don't. Just chill out with that. We've already got 4 days. We don't need more than that. Let's take one more quick break. We'll come back. We've got a final word for you coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk.
One more thing. In conclusion, we better wrap it up.
Quick edition of 580 Sports Talk today, so it's only fitting we have a quick final word, Dan.
Be self-indulgent a little bit with this one. Happy birthday to my mother. Today is her birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I'm sure she would love a Nuggets win in Game 6 over the Suns tonight for her birthday. Okay, that's a bit of a lie, but her husband and her sons would love it. So hopefully that's what she gets.
Happy birthday to your mom. Any celebration plans that you know of?
Not that I know of. I think they're going to go out with my brother and his wife tomorrow night. And then, of course, Sunday's Mother's Day. So
nice.
It's Mama Palooza the weekend. Really.
That's awesome. Well, happy Mother's Day and happy birthday to her as well. Final word for me today. I don't know how much happiness there's going to be, just genuine happiness for the Kansas City Royals over the course of the season. But the last few days have been pretty darn fun. 4 wins in your last 5. You finally have a series win, beating the White Sox of all teams. That's pretty fun to do any given time. So celebrate this one, and maybe that confidence and that momentum will continue tomorrow as they open a weekend set in Milwaukee against the Brewers. That's going to do it for us today, though, here on 580 Sports Talk. We're back tomorrow with a full show from 3 until 6. Matt Derrick's going to join us for our Chiefs Insider. We'll also talk all things prep sports with Rick Peterson from TopSports.news. It's all tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. We will talk to you then on 580 Sports Talk.